All right, guys, welcome back to No Filter Friday. Of course, I'm John Kanopic, your host and master of ceremonies through this insanely chaotic sphere we call the world. This is a special episode. Not only are we dealing with mental health, because it's something that I'm very passionate about and have dealt with the majority of my life, but I thought, I'd bring in some people who have also dealt with the same thing. These guys are incredibly hilarious. They're also very unfiltered, just like myself, so it's a perfect fit for the show. You can check them out. They have their own little podcast venture they call the Geeks from the Multiverse. Um, they cover everything nerdy, and then some. Listen to a few of their episodes, and yeah, these guys definitely know their stuff. So thought it would be perfect to bring them in here, especially doing mental health. Being Dad's Day and us, fathers going through things on a daily basis, I feel like this is the perfect opportunity to discuss those and just shoot the shit, so to speak, for lack of a better word. So we've got on the other side of the coin here, we've got Matt and John from Geeks from the Multiverse, and I didn't catch. We have a cameo appearance. You can see half of him in the screen right now. Yep, there we go.
Yeah, there he is. Yeah, his name's Brian, just so you know. Yes, he is my father. So yeah, I just want to make sure we're clear on that. So
we've got Brian, John, and Matt from Geeks from the Multiverse joining us on this call. Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, to all dads out there, wishing you guys are having an awesome Father's Day, wherever you call home, because yeah, it's the one day a year where we can do whatever the hell we want, and
yeah, for the most part.
Yeah, for the most part. Get a pass. But yeah, guys, thank you very much for joining and for helping me navigate this crap, and going through things dealing with mental health, because I feel it's a very, very, very critical topic that the world needs to focus more on, rather than all the hatred and all the vinegar that's out there in the world. We need to be more focused on fixing what's going on in our own brains, in our own minds, in our own spheres, rather than just attacking everybody else. Yeah, I want to know what you guys think.
Nah, it's crazy about Father's Day. My dad a long time ago. Yeah, I'm gonna call him out now. He basically was saying you don't understand shit until you have a kid of your own. And I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. And so of course I had my son, year and a half ago, almost two now, and there's a lot of stuff that I was like, all right, you're right. I told you so kind of moments, and I was like, you know what, you're right. It's the reality. As dads, we, I'll say it. People think that we know everything, and that's like shit. We don't know most of the time anything, And so we try to do our best. We try to do whatever's right for our kids, but at the same time, it's a struggle. It's an everyday struggle, and especially as guys, we're always told as not. I'm not saying he did, but some other men in particular, throughout the generations, they're always told like, hey, suck it up, Buttercup, brace to suck. Fuck you, let's pick the shit up and keep going. And then you don't ever talk about it. You just let it off to the side, and you pretend everything's a-okay, and then so many years later you're like, you start breaking down, you start crying, you start doing all this stuff, and then you're wondering why there's so much shit in the world, especially for guys, and they're like, well, how am I supposed to express my feelings, or how am I supposed to do these things if I'm told at a young age like this is what it is, no matter which way you look at it. And so it's crazy now that as a society we're like, hey, it's not weak. It's not, the wrong thing to do to go get help. I think as people growing up now, mental health has become more prominent in the last 20 years for sure, to try to push this narrative where, we're not sitting in the background anymore. We have, guys, for example, like me staying at home, and doing that where, I would say that would be taboo. Men shouldn't do that. Men shouldn't be at home taking care of their kids or whatever, and the wives shouldn't be going to work. And, there's just different day, every societal things that have changed. So, it's a different perspective. And I can just say, it's, for any dad who does it, I'm like, good for you. I'm just glad I'm going back to work because it's hard as shit. Like, and I know that perspective, but it's a struggle, and it's not always easy. So like when I see like, hit my dad going to work or he's going to work, and I'm like, well, what do I do? Well, I'm hanging out with my kid. Don't get me wrong. It's great. But then, you go back to that societal thing where, as a male, we're supposed to provide for our families. We're supposed to be the caretakers, the the ones that have to make sure that everything needs to go the right way, or if not, it's going to be blamed on us. So, when you see for example, your wife struggling and all these things happening, you're just like, well, how the hell am I supposed to help? Or how am I supposed to do certain things if right now I'm supposed to be worried about one thing, and again, it's everyday shit that we just have to deal with every single time. So my little aspect of it.
Yeah, and growing up, my father was in the military. He was born in 39, and he didn't have an upbringing. He was in boys' homes because his parents didn't want him. He didn't have any family members, and he struggled. In the 40s and 50s in Pennsylvania, and that time in that space of the world, it was very hard for him to be able to navigate the world, to the point where he ended up joining the military. He ended up being in the Air Force. He ended up going and serving during the Korean conflict. And then, like you said, exactly to a T, what you said, when I was growing up, being his only son, after having two daughters, I found, that it was a struggle for me because, like you said, it was, hey, you fell down, you scraped your knee, dust yourself off, get up. I wasn't allowed to have emotions or be able to talk about my feelings, or if I was upset about something, or if something happened at school and I wanted to, discuss it. I couldn't, because he was very closed-minded. It was just deal with it, suck it up, and move on. And it was very difficult for me, especially as I got older and in my teenage years, to be able to function like that, being an outcast and having to have all of that pressure put on me. And then watching my mom struggle because, he was not the best towards her either, especially after he lost his job and was bouncing around from job to job, and they were struggling financially. It just took a burden on her, and then I had to take it upon myself to be kind of the man of the house because he wasn't. And then I ended up joining the military myself in 2001 because I struggled so much with stability and all of the pressures and everything, and not being able to navigate the world because I didn't have that support chain. And the military gave me that stability that I needed and that flexibility that I needed, to the point where, the 2 years after I finished my basic training and my medical training, I was able to meet my wife, and I've been with her now over 22 years, because I was the person that she needed me to be. I knew that I could be vulnerable with her in ways I never could be with my family. My mental health struggles, I still have plenty of them, but I feel like I have a much better support system now, with her and with my son. I'm doing my best to help him navigate the world. He's a massive ball of energy. He's going to be 5.5 next month. But yeah, like you said, nowadays it's nice that there is ways for us to be able to find communities where we can talk about these things. We can be open with one another, where it doesn't have to be so taboo for a man to express himself and display what's going on in his world that he's struggling with. Because, like you said, back in the day, back when we were growing up, it was, the father's the provider, the mother's the homemaker, and the father had to be chiseled from stone, and heaven forbid he showed any other kind of emotions, and had to shove everything down and just soldier on. And it's like, they wonder why this generation now is having the issues that they're having. It's because they have parents that don't know how to let them be open with their issues that they're dealing with. That they never got that chance when they were kids. So rather than breaking the cycle, they let it continue, and it screws everybody in the long run. And now we've got, as I mentioned to you guys the other night, we've got people who identify themselves as animals.
Yeah.
Or
I knew you were gonna say something about that.
It's like you have these people out on like TikTok and other social media going, yes, my pronouns are me and yow. It's like, okay, all right, yeah, you obviously didn't have a good childhood.
I was gonna say, did you not want to talk about the horse?
Well, yeah, the way the world is going, by the time we get to the year 2046 or something in that election, you're gonna have a horse running for president against an AI generated individual. And that's the state of the world, unfortunately, because unless we right the ship and get it away from this weird toxic iceberg that we're heading directly towards, that's what's going to happen. We're going to have President Secretariat in the office, in the Oval Office. I mean, you're gonna have the
You're
vice
not wrong,
president
though.
riding
You're
the
not wrong.
president along the front lawn of the White House. I mean, what the hell are we doing? I mean,
Who votes yay? Nay.
yeah, who votes nay? It's like, all right, there you go, perfect. Cloth your hood 3 times if you want to veto the bill. I mean,
Yeah.
it's insane because it's like when we grew up, and a lot of it also has to do with social media and mainstream media, and the fact that mainstream media feels like because they're owned by big pharma and all the billionaires out there, we all need to be as drugged up and dumbed down, brainless sheep as possible. So that's why you see riboflaxin on a commercial for during the middle of a TV show, like, hey, this is going to give you anal leakage, but it's going to fix your mental problems. It's like, no, I don't need to see this shit on my screen. All right, get me back to the days where you're giving me like Depends commercials, or we're looking at Globe Home Life Insurance or other shit like that. I don't need to know about a drug that's going to give me a 6th index finger just to cure my male pattern baldness. All right, it's fucking stupid.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could be joking about this, but I think on a random Saturday, just streaming, whatever TV show or movie I was watching, there was a Suboxone commercial.
Oh shit.
In the middle of the day, and I'm like looking. I mean, we come from drug rehab.
Yeah.
Working there, and I'm looking at the TV and I'm going, wow, this is really like hitting hard. Like you're doing a Suboxone commercial on live streaming during the middle of the day. Like I'm supposed to go to my doctor and go, hey, I saw a commercial for Suboxone. Can I get that? like my doctor's just going to go, hey, yeah, sure. Here's a script. Here you go.
What's
The
worse?
doctor's not going to give me a damn fucking script for Suboxone.
No, right, but I mean, I was gonna say what's worse about that is like 10 years ago, you're never gonna see that, and you're never gonna see any commercial. Now all of a sudden you're like, oh hey, don't worry, it's only pain management, and I'm like, is it really?
Like, you addicted to drugs? Ask your doctor for Suboxone.
Oh,
Okay. I'll go do that.
When you've got a drug commercial,
Appointment today.
if you've got a drug commercial and literally the list of side effects is longer than the duration of the commercial itself, you've got a problem. I'm not going to have something that's going to cure my anxiety, but it's going to give me 50 other different disorders and make my pee turn into chocolate pudding. I'm really not going to do that.
I mean,
because
that sounds interesting, but
yeah, it's like, ooh, but at least it fixed my anxiety. But now when I pee, it looks like I work for the Hershey Company. I don't really want that to be the way the world is, but unfortunately, that's the way it's going. And in a more like serious tone, like people, with the whole Minnesota assassination thing that just happened, which I have my theories about that as far as who was actually really behind it. But even more so than that, you have a governor of that state, and I miss the previous governor, Jesse Ventura, because he actually was a Marine SEAL team member, hardcore veteran. He knew he didn't take any shit. He was as gung-ho, Rambo, ballsy as you could get. Now you've got a little fluffy foo-foo governor in there who wants tampons in boys' bathrooms and who's friends with school shooters. So this is just a case in point of that's the problem. You've got people who are running the country, or even in states, running states that have no business telling people how to live their lives because they're already clearly mentally unstable. If you're like, hey, Timmy, look over there. There's a Summer's Eve disposable douche in the boys' bathroom. Yay. What? What is going on here?
What is a douche?
Apparently the governor of Minnesota. But like,
I mean, it's a fear culture. That's what we're living in. Everything is a scare tactic.
We absolutely are. And the problem
you watch
is
the news and everything is a scare tactic. But the medication and commercials, it's a scare tactic. It's like you watch them and you're like, I think I fucking have that, and you're like, I think I need to ask my doctor about it.
Why don't I just throw that onto the list real quick?
Yeah, your doctor's gonna be like, oh yeah. Here comes some more money from me. I'll tell you whatever you want to hear.
You give those this and this, so your arms don't fall off.
Or turn it into chocolate pudding, apparently.
Yeah, exactly. And the worst part is, it's like you see, like when you have a mass shooting or when you have a school shooting, the first thing all of these stupid congressmen and representatives they're going for is gun grab, gun grab, gun grab. And it's like, guys, how about you focus on the fucking main issue first, which is mental health, which is parents' accountability. Because these people don't just wake up one morning and be like, you know what, I'm just going to kill 75 people just because it's Wednesday and I feel cute, might kill some people later. No, they're doing this because they have mental health issues. They're doing this because they're screaming out for help from their parents, and their parents could give two shits less. And it's like, we need to focus more on that. If you want to, and you can focus on your gun control later on, because that's the obvious that needs to be focused on. But first things first, get people's mental health under control and get these fucking parents accountable, because the kids aren't finding the guns just randomly. Oh, look, I'm walking down the street and there's an AK-47 sitting in the middle of the fucking road. Hey, lucky day. No, it's either because they have a gun, like your parents are they're not very safe with the way they keep their weapons locked up, or kids are finding ways to pass background checks, which are very scarce at times, and getting the weapons to do what they need to do because they feel like they don't have any other outlet, because they feel like nobody's listening to them. And we need to focus on that more, because rather than just giving us fucking drugs, oh, you're upset, here's an upper. Oh, you're depressed, you're too hyper, here's some Ritalin. It's like, rather than drugging us up and keeping us as mindless fucking puppets, how about we look at the mental health state of people and work with them, have more psychiatrists, have more therapists out there that can help people work through their traumatic issues that they're either going through or have gone through, because that's going to fix a lot of the mental health problems and the mental health crisis that we have going on in this country, which can then in turn stop all of the violence as much as it's been going on. I mean, it's not going to be a cure-all, but it's going to be a hell of a lot better than just, I'm just going to steal your gun and then you're not going to be able to do anything. They'll find other ways. Well, because you're not fixing the mental health problem.
Well, that's the thing. People kill people. Guns don't kill people. You're not going to sit there and see a gun on a table and it's going to automatically shoot somebody. It's going to be the person behind it. So you're right. You have to fix the problem at the source.
Yep. Yeah. And it's insane that everybody just immediately goes, oh, we're going to go mass shooting, thoughts and prayers, gun grab, do nothing, fix nothing, especially in mental health. And then it just circles and it goes it again and again and again. It's like, when's the violence ever going to end?
You got to break the cycle.
Yeah.
Right. So I was go ahead.
No, I was going to say, when you fix it at the source, that's when you'll have a control on it. When you shut off the spigot, rather than just trying to kink the hose and hopefully that'll stop the water pressure. No, it'll keep coming out. You got to turn off the spigot. That's what you got to do. And that starts with mental health and parental accountability.
So all I was going to say real quick is, so I'm going to say some stuff real quick, and then I'm going to have him take over as my dad, because there's a couple things I'm going to tie in. So, both Matt and you don't look at me like that. I know they can't see you, but don't look at me like that. Get out of here.
You can see half of his face.
Get out of here. Now we can see. Okay. Yeah. So, with Matt and I. What's that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
To the corner.
Like, get back over here.
I'll put my dunce hat on now.
So, with me and Matt, so a little while ago, like he was doing basically mental health, like therapy, so he was doing that at a clinic. So basically like at a Suboxone clinic and methadone clinic. It was really more methadone than anything. So, like we would talk about certain things, and, like I'm actually trying to get a master's degree in social work. So that my goal is actually to get really to work with vets, really to work with their families and to do all that. So that's my, passion, and really to do therapy on the side as well. But, my passion was always that. But so like, his experience, dealing with, in this case, we'll say it, addicts, right? And dealing with, people that, they want to get the help sometimes, and sometimes they don't. And then, it's like a 50-50 shot. It's like, they're either going to do it or they're not going to do it. And then they're just, and unfortunately you'll see a lot of them either OD or so on and so forth. So, a lot of times I'll say it, where do you find that line to not help anymore? You know what I mean? So like, it's hard, because I know some people will say, oh, just let them fucking do it and call it a day. I hate saying it, but sometimes that is the case, because you can only do it for so long, because if you think that just, that 10th time is going to be the time, it may or may not be. And they could literally get out of that room, go shoot up, and then they could die. I mean, it all depends on whatever is going on. You know, when we look back at, you know, especially mental health here, you know, I feel like as an individual, if you don't know a lot about it, it's more just understanding certain signs, right? So like especially like suicide, you know, that's a big thing. Doesn't whether you're a vet or not, or someone who's experienced some traumatic experience, so whether it's PTSD or whatever, right? You need to know these certain signs. Now it's hard to know that because even though you might be an expert in it, you may or may not know that. So it's hard to justify what is the right thing to do. And so a lot of times, as I guess as individuals, it's like us, you can see it, like you can kind of see it ahead of time, but then there's times where you never would have known that this individual had this because they hide it really damn well, and you don't have a fucking clue. And that's the truth. And I think for people, especially males, when you do, this, like battle buddy checks, right? So like you're reaching out like, hey, how you doing, man? I've talked to you like a couple years. Just wanted to see how you're doing. How's your fam? How's this? How's that? Like if they're energetic and they're talking to them, okay, cool. If they're not saying shit to you and they're just off doing their own damn thing and they get back to you like a week or two later, yeah, well, something's going on clearly because you're not noticing that at first. But it's to me, it's like keeping in line of your friends and your family that that go through all this shit. And I feel like as males, we don't, not saying all of us, but we do have a tendency to not do that as much. And we should get better at doing that because if we're trying to say like, hey, we're not always saying embrace the suck every single day, no, but we're always saying like, hey, how you doing, man? I know but I might be fucking with you today, but it doesn't mean I don't give a shit about you the next day, whether you're doing something else. I mean, that's just how we show love.
Right.
As I as I hit him over here. Love you too. No, but like, so I'm gonna put it over here to my dad for a second because he has actually experience, because we were talking about the whole gun control thing, right? So we're talking to a guy that isn't a small arms instructor or used to be, hasn't done it in a while. But go ahead, I'm gonna let you take that perspective of like how mental health and guns and like how that should be looked at a little bit more.
Well, honestly, it was a proven fact. Sometimes guns and mental health don't mix. Look at Chris Kyle.
Oh, yes.
Unfortunately, Chris decided that he was, I can't say he was invincible, but in his mind, he did think he was. And he brought a guy that was loaded with PTSD out to a range, and it backfired on him. So, I mean, when it comes to that, as when I was in, which I did over 20, how long were you in?
8 years.
While I was in and I was a small arms instructor, we had to do mental health checks on people before they got on the range. Did you ever witness that?
Yeah. Actually, during during my training, we actually had a guy try to, I hate this word, I'm just going to use the regular word. He tried to kill himself by slitting his wrists. And I remember my drill instructor let us know that, hey, he was being sent home. He was mentally unfit to continue. But the drill sergeant, like right after, it's like he should have just went for the jugular and done it. Just got it done the right way. He did it the wrong way. And we're sitting there going, holy shit. Dude just tried to kill himself, and all you care about is the fact that he did it wrong. So,
well, not only that, it's a fucking number.
Yeah, exactly.
And when I was on the range, and I found out that they had just gotten back from deployment to Iraq, Afghanistan, whatever. First thing I did was download them and not let them on the range because I used to say, did you see or did you seek any help prior to make sure you're good to go? One, unfortunately, it was actually Master at Arms. He went on the range. He was fine, slipped through the cracks, and next thing you know, 3 days later, he had hung himself in his closet. So again, he didn't use a weapon, but he found a way. Like you said, they will find a way no matter what. So mental health is definitely a big issue because I did a little under a year in Iraq, and the stuff I saw, the things I went through, I came back. I was jacked. I had no idea. I almost slipped through the cracks. I almost became one of those guys under the bridge. Homeless vet will work for food. I could see how easily that could, on that side of it, I could see how easy that could happen. But I did find help afterwards, and I'm gonna say this too, because when I got back, I lost my wife because it was just it was just bad. My sons decided that I was the bad guy, which I let them have it, and that's fine. I get it because they were young, they didn't understand, and somebody had to be the bad guy. I got it. Since they got older, they understand what I was going through, and as a matter of fact, quote me if I'm wrong, the reason you got into mental health was because of me.
It was one of the reasons. It was a major reason, but there was other things as well. So what he was saying was, when he came back, so this is why I'm saying, like, with the people, if they don't understand this piece of it. So when you see somebody, literally, I remember him driving down a highway. I'll call you. I don't care. He's driving, and all of a sudden, it's like 65, 70, and we're like, okay, whatever. All of a sudden, I see him go, "Grrr," and I mean, it's like we're going almost 100 miles an hour. And I'm like, okay, hey, what are you doing? And I'm like trying to like stop him for a second. And he's like, oh, what? And again, he was thinking that he's in Iraq and he has to go as quick as fuckingly possible. And there's nothing I can do besides just keep going. And so I'm like, Dad, you're here right now with me. So I'm 14 years old saying this to him. And I remember going to a restaurant the first time and immediately he had to go sit in a corner, look at the whole entire restaurant, see what he was looking at. And like, again, I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm scanning.
Sad part is I still do that to this day.
No, right. And I do that too now, but that was different at the time. And so like, there was things that I started noticing and I'm like, okay, well, clearly a lot more to it. And I didn't know. And so I was looking at, PTSD and I was looking at doing stuff like that. And I was like, man, this is like what I want to do. And this is what I want to look at. And so not just him, but my mom's dad, so my grandfather, he had a form of shell shock from what I remember that every year for about a week, he'd lock himself in his house. He'd stock up on food and do whatever. And he'd sit there for a week doing whatever the hell he did. And then after a week went by, it was done. And he would just let it go. And I'm like, well, that's the shittiest way to ever do that. But that was his way of doing it.
I went through 14 ID attacks. And going through 14 and actually surviving, right, and only having what my knee is all jacked, but the only reason that I survived was because I was in the right place at the right time. I was lucky as fuck.
Oh yeah.
So
I've heard the stories.
The big thing still to this day for me is on the highways when I see a broke down vehicle, because 2 of those IEDs were in broke down vehicles and they went off when the convoy went by. So I mean, like you said, when you go through these traumatic experiences, there are triggers. Once the triggers happen, you could fall back into almost even a flashback. And I saw enough for 10 people. I never want to see that stuff again. And I'm trying to heal myself just like you are. And it's a progression. It's not just overnight. People don't understand. Matter of fact, one of my counselors actually told me that your stress level can spin up past what your body can handle so quick, within an hour. But because of that, each day that you're under that stress, he told me that it takes a year for your stress level to come back down. So he said you could go to your grave with half the stuff that you're holding. So it's a progression. It's not people don't think, oh, I'm gonna get off the bus. You're healed. It doesn't work that way. It's always a progression, and these guys both know it. So sorry.
This is the whole point. This is the whole point why we're here doing this right now. So,
and I think also like a big problem, another one that ties into mental health is the fact that, and I know this because like when I was growing up before my father decided I was persona non grata, he volunteered at the VA, our local VA in Iowa where we lived, every weekend, and he was handing out rosaries and talking to the fellow vets and stuff. And it's horrible that, especially like after seeing, the big parade and everything that happened yesterday, it's horrible to see all of these veterans who put their lives on the line, and all these soldiers who put their lives on the line for us to be safe and free and be able to do what we want to do, to come back home after tours and to not get that mental health needs met. They don't have the proper like therapists and psychologists and psychiatric people there to help them reacclimate them into society. Instead, they just get dumped back in and just be expected, oh, well, you just like you said, you've survived 10 plus IED attacks during your tour over in Iraq. now you're going to come back to the States and you just got to resume living your life like you're just a normal individual. Like there's not going to be triggers. Like there's not going to be PTSD issues that are going to come up. And it's horrible because it's like we need to take care of those who have protected us for so long. And it's embarrassing the shape of the Veterans Affairs and the lack of compassion that the government and the people who have the pocketbooks, who have the funds that can give us the resources we need, they don't give a crap. It's like it just goes on the back burner. And then you wonder why. You see all these homeless people out there, and a lot of them are vets because a lot of them come back and they struggle mentally. And they, you know, like you said, they lose their family, they lose their friends, and they have nothing, and they're not able to get their brains back to where they need them to be or get reacclimated with society. And it's sickening because it's like, you know, they're protecting us. They're the guardians. We should be not only welcoming them back with fanfare, but also protecting them before putting them back into society to make sure that, hey, are you good? You know, are you able to, you know, we don't want you struggling or, like you said, unaliving or killing yourself or, you know, heaven forbid, suddenly you snap, you think you're back in Fallujah and you're trying to take out a crowd of people at a grocery store because the switch was hit, because, you know, those mental needs are being unmet. And that ties in again to focus, and all they care about is just, political agenda and trying to keep the other side at bay and trying to keep people scared. And it's like, no, how about you fucking focus on making sure that we're all sane and competent and we're safe from a mental standpoint, because y'all ain't doing a very good job. And a lot of the shit that's happening is a direct result of that. And
no, and I was going to mention real quick is like, one thing I'm actually going to be proud of doing. So like, I kind of mentioned this to you a little bit, but I'm actually starting a job tomorrow. It's a veteran services case manager. So kind of put it into words, it's more just like somebody who's, you know, taking care of somebody who is, you know, asking like, hey, I need help with like, you know, you taking me to VA appointments or doctor's appointments or whatever the hell it is, like whatever services they need, you know, to be able to get their back on track. You know, when I found out about this job, I was like, hell yeah, I want to fucking do it. I said, because this is my way of, before hopefully becoming a counselor, you know, and doing that, like this is my way of giving back in some ways, because I'm going to mention a name, and I know this is going to be rough on you. One of my dad's best friends, his name's Mike Rowe. You know, he passed away last year. Point is he was a VA or BSO. You know, he was basically, you know, he did the job for a while. He did all this, but he had a lot of people that he helped, and he helped him and my brother and a few others. And, you know, his impact, you know, of doing that, it like changed a lot of people. I mean, hell, I'm going to say it. Both my parents went to go become a BSO because of this man, because of the impact that they had on them, which I found very profound. That one individual changed. And it was, I mean, when we went out there for his funeral and stuff, I mean, it was crazy. There was people, like lines of people and everything. I was like, damn, you know, this is crazy. There's one guy, you know, and so, you know, when I saw this job, I was like, hell yeah, I want to do something like this. This is something I'm passionate about. And, you know, like you were saying, you know, the issue is as in, I guess really just as a vet, it sucks when you don't have people that don't go through similar events. I'm not saying that a civilian of some sort doesn't have similar experiences to a degree, but if you don't understand where that person's coming from, like if you don't understand, like, okay, I'm in Iraq and it's 120 degrees and I have to constantly watch my surroundings 360 every single step I take, every time I have to look up in the sky, like all the little pieces here and there, it's hard for somebody to truly like dive in. Now, I'm not saying, because here's the other word, I'm going to say empathy. You know, empathy it's powerful, but sometimes it can be hard to try to connect with somebody on that level. And so it's much easier, of course, if, yes, you have gone through similar events, gone through similar things where, you know, you can say, hey, you know, yes, I understand this and I understand where you're coming from, but I understand that you are also an individual that has gone through similar things that I have, but you are different because they're different events, different time frames, different whatever. So it's rough when you don't have people that are as passionate at the VA or at people that are doing this, because if they're just there to get a fucking paycheck, then why bother doing the damn job? You know, why are you in that fucking job to begin with if you're not going to be passionate to help those you serve in that particular, population? So if you're not passionate, I'm like, oh, no offense, get out. There's no reason to continue a job if you're not happy about it. And I know, looking at Matt here, he left his job because he was sick and tired of getting hundreds of fucking people in a caseload every month. There was no realistic standard that he could fucking keep up with this shit. And he got so pissed that he was like, I gotta leave. I can't keep up this 130 bullshit that they're about to tell me that I gotta take care of my caseload and meet with them and do all this other stuff. And I'm sitting there like, I don't blame you, man.
Yeah.
You can't realistically do half the job because there's not enough people to take care of these individuals. So when these expectations are there, how the fuck are you supposed to do anything?
I mean, there's a lot of a double standard too. I mean, it's talking, you could take two different people, right? Both would have an addiction.
Right.
One could be a vet, one could not be, just a civilian.
Right.
And the civilian will get mental health, he'll get medication, he'll get health care, he'll get dental care, he'll get free haircuts, like free food, free EBT.
Yeah,
They'll give him money to pay bills that he doesn't even have.
Right.
But you get a vet with an addiction, screw the mental health, screw the free medication, screw the haircut, screw the bills. Like,
right.
You'll get nothing.
You get jack shit.
Because you got to jump through
hoops,
like 12 hoops, and the hoops aren't just like ground level. They're like all the way up here. Like, for whatever reason, it's just like, it's such a double standard. But from what you were saying, like, yeah, like, the clinic I was working for, it wasn't 130, but it was 117.
The point is, it was a lot more than what he should have been doing.
But yeah, it was just a load of bullshit at the time, because it was like we were doing, methadone clinics are harm reduction, right? But it was like, what harm are we reducing when 90% of my caseload are still fucking using?
Well, we're
not reducing any harm if you're still using drugs, buddy.
Well, when you look at,
you know what I mean? Like, you're still doing your shit. Like, we're not reducing any harm. We're just dosing you with another drug.
Right. But when you're looking at fucking methadone or Suboxone, it really doesn't make a difference. I mean, they're the same, pretty much.
We're basically becoming your illegal drug dealer.
Like, here you go.
You're still using your drug too on top of it.
And by the way, you got to come every day. Okay. Have a nice day.
Thanks for your money.
Yeah.
So now they'll become addicted to those drugs too. And that's the problem. It's like you said, rather than trying to fix the issue and help these people get their mental states back on where they need to be, instead it's just, here's some more drugs that's going to try to get you unhooked on these, but it might end up getting you hooked on this instead. So you have to keep coming back, and you have to keep doing this, and you have to keep, and
a lot of hand holding instead of saying, just fucking stop. You know what I mean? Like, instead of like, some of the people that I had, like, I really wish I could have just shook them and said, just fucking stop. Like, stop breaking the law, asshole. And like, what is your issue? Like, you know what I mean? Like, just stop doing what you're doing. Like, but I couldn't do that because I'm a counselor. It's
right.
like, but it's like, just stop doing what you're doing. Like, realistically, but it's like, no, let me hold your hand here. Have some medication. It'll make you better. No, you don't have to stop doing what you're doing. Just this medication will help you stop.
Yeah.
What? Like, come on, get the fuck out of here with this. Like, come on.
And it, like, not to that level, but like, it was like with me when I was a young kid growing up, when I was, like 5, 6, 7, like I was diagnosed with ADHD, and, I always had to be doing something. I always had to have something going on. I couldn't be sitting still for extended periods of time, rather than finding ways to creatively allow me to utilize that energy and stimulate that growth, and allow me to, continue to evolve and get better, and learn from that disorder that they said I had. Instead, it's, here's some fucking Ritalin. Let's just give you some drugs and taper you down, and that way that'll calm you down. And it's like, how about you fucking let me use my creativity rather than just fucking pumping me full of fucking drugs just to shut me up so I'm not spinning around the room all the time.
You'll only fall asleep in your spaghetti, but you're fine.
You're fine. Don't worry about it.
Exactly. And that's what's so stupid. It's like, again, we need to be looking at the bigger picture, which is mental health, which is people's brains, which is people's mental states that need to be cultivated, or they need to be nursed back to health or reacclimated into society. Not just, well, here's the latest flavor of Baskin Robbins 31 flavors of drugs. Here's the one that feels going to work the best for you. And now you're going to end up getting addicted
The
to
brand
that.
new flavor is called Adderall.
Adderall. John, that was a great. I will say that right now. That what you just said was perfect. You know what? You should put a T-shirt on that. Like it's like 31 flavors of Baskin Robbins flavors of different kinds of drugs you want.
You want it's 32 because it's
32.
Adderall.
Right.
Yeah, I got from Ritalin to Vyvanse to Adderall. It's like, seriously. I mean, and again, this all ties back to big pharma and everything having their hands, all of their hands in these people's pockets and controlling the narrative and controlling, you know, the fact that you're seeing riboflavin and all the other stupid medications all over, plastered all over TV, because then you're going to, with these people who are already so frail in their mental mind states, it's going to immediately give them a placebo effect. We're like, you know what? I do resonate with 3 or 4 of those little, the 3 or 4 of those symptoms. I resonate with that. I must have that. I must go to my doctor right now and get that medicine. And it's like, that's literally what they're wanting to do. They know that people are so brainwashed still right now that they can fucking easily get these people to believe that they've got whatever fucking syndrome they want to throw at you. That they just use a random name generator. Flipperflocker. Yay, that's the drug now. Yeah, you have that syndrome. So now you have to go to your doctor and get one that's going to make your left leg fall off. You're going to make your hair turn purple. You're going to pee out chocolate and you're going to poop out rainbow sprinkles. But guess what? That's going to fix your disorder. So it's like, yay.
Yeah, but then
Yeah.
But then those side effects, they actually give you more drugs to fix those side effects that give you more side effects that will give you, it's an ongoing thing.
Exactly. It's like, yeah, you go in for one syndrome and you're supposed to get one medication. You end up with 9 syndromes and 15 medications because that's how they have that nice little, have it all nicely neat and tied up into a bow. And it's
Instead of going like to where the real source would be is like parents and schools and actual therapists that aren't going to be like, well, you have a disorder, it's called gender dysphoria. Get the fuck out of here with this. Like, hey, gender dysphoria was not a disorder. It was, no, you have a mental health condition. Let's talk about it. Not, let's figure out what gender you are. I think you might be a horse.
Right. I'm a little confused on what I am right now.
Hello, I'm Mr. Ed.
Yeah.
Mr. Ed.
I think you're really a secretariat, but
you need to come get your son. What happened at school? Well, randomly at times during the day, he just goes out, Wilbur, and we don't know why that is. So, I think there might be a problem here. And it's like, okay, and this is another thing. Like when we grew up in school, it was men, women, innies, outies. That's all there was. And yeah, you may have had like your drag queens and things like that, even in the 90s, like RuPaul and shit like that. Yeah, that was fine. You want to have your little drag queens, even like go old school. Let's go Tim fucking Curry in Rocky Horror Picture Show. But you know what? Tim Curry knew he's a fucking dude. He may have dressed up as a fucking woman and did all that shit, or like Dustin Hoffman and Tootsie. He dressed up as a fucking woman. But guess what? Dustin Hoffman knew, I got a dick. I'm a man. It's not,
Robert
well,
Williams?
I dressed up as a woman, so maybe now I might identify as a woman, so I'm going to go lop off my penis. No, he didn't do that because that's not the way our mental states were back in those days. That's not how we were raised. But now, unfortunately, you've got fucking parents out there, and my wife and I were talking about this on the drive home today, and she made a really good point. A lot of parents nowadays, the shitty part is that these parents are so hell-bent, like, oh, I'm going to have a baby boy. I'm pregnant. I'm going to have a baby boy. Comes out a girl. And all of a sudden now the parents aren't happy with the fact that it's a girl instead of a boy. So what they do is they start trying to hone in on the smallest little fucking thing, like, oh, look, Susie's over there playing with Hot Wheels cars, and Susie likes Rambo and G.I. Joe. She must be a boy. And rather than just letting her be a fucking tomboy, they start talking about, oh, you really are a boy, aren't you? And then they try to go for the gender reassignment or try to get him the hormone replacement drugs.
Yeah, and they're doing this
that way
like,
because they're not happy with the fact that the gender didn't come out the way they wanted it to. And that's fucking horrible. And that's parental abuse right there. And parents like that have no business raising kids. Well, I'm sorry you didn't get the fucking flavor that you wanted, but you can't fucking force that flavor to be one you wanted. You got to love it the way it is. And if the kid decides later on that it wants to change its identity or whatever, that's fine. But no parent should have any right to try to force these fucking drugs on these kids to turn them into a gender that they're not, just because they're not happy with the way that they came out when they were born. It is bullshit.
And they're starting at young ages,
Mhm.
4, 5. It's like, what are you doing? Putting Alex into a dress. What are you doing? Come on, stop.
Yeah, and fucking doctors need to be held accountable too, because you guys are the ones. If the parents are coming to you wanting to do this shit, you should be like, your kid's 6, so he plays with fucking Barbie, so he likes Gabby's dollhouse. He's a fucking boy. Let him explore. I'm not going to give you drugs to turn him into a fucking girl just because of the fact that you don't like the fact that he's a boy, or he might be showing some signs that he likes some feminine stuff. Big fucking deal.
Well,
Who
it was
cares?
funny. Well, wasn't it like a little while ago? Weren't they trying to make a law in place for like to have like kids be like the rights to basically like decide if whatever they want to do at a very young age or something like that? And I'm sitting there like,
Yep. Yeah.
So you're letting, hold on. I was like, so you're letting these kids who are, let's say 1, 2, 3, or however old they're supposed to be, or make up a fucking mind if they're gonna pick to be a boy or a girl at that point? Like, how the fuck are you gonna make these kids who have no idea what the fuck they're about to get themselves into making a decision like that at a very young age? And then the parents are like, yeah, that's fine. Let them decide. I'm like, no,
Your son,
you don't let them fucking decide.
Your son just picked his butt and ate what he found in there, but you're gonna let him decide what gender he wants to be?
Especially at that age.
Yeah,
and
no,
that's what I mean.
you shouldn't be. Yeah, you shouldn't be in charge of that child. That you're going to allow that to
no,
happen.
but they want to do that, and I was sitting there like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" Like, no, I understand. This is why we have parents, right? There are things that we just don't fucking know until a certain age. So when we have, if you want to change the legal age, like, because good old America, when we're like 18, that means you're an adult, right? Okay, well, everything else, we've just changed everything to 21. So why don't we just say, fuck it, 21? That's the legal age of when you should be making decisions, right? Because everything else is 21. So say, fuck it, right?
John, you don't want to be a girl, do you?
No, I'm good. I'm well.
I mean,
Then I guess I did my job.
Oh, is that right? Good. I'm glad.
well, I mean, no offense, but just because the parents have the parts to make a child doesn't mean that they have the right to say what a child's gender should be either.
Well, no, I agree. I'm just,
if the child has a penis or a vagina, I think it's pretty clear what that child is.
Right. No, I get that.
But
It's just,
I think if you have a male child and the child's playing with Barbies, who gives a shit what the child's playing with?
I agree with that.
I don't really care, but like, it's a problem when you have and there's been reports of this when you have a child who's in school and the school itself is telling the child like, oh, like your child is wanting to become a girl or becoming a guy, and the school itself is not telling the parents
No, of course they
about
won't.
the conversations they're having with your child, and then all of a sudden you find out that your child is already going through
The process.
the process of medication and counseling for this, and you're like,
Well, so now I was
they are
right, because I was gonna say now it's the schools. I was like, what the fuck? I didn't realize you were the parent.
and then the school's telling the parents like, well, we don't have to tell you because this is a private counseling thing because that's what the school is doing.
Sorry, under the age 18, yeah, they do have to tell you.
You see, that's what infuriates me to no end, especially because now, like, my son is going to be starting kindergarten in a couple months. This will be his first time going to public schools, and that's what infuriates me because, like, when we were growing up, the moment we get dropped off at that door and we go through those doors, it is the administration, teachers, principal. It's their job to shape and mold us. And if there are any issues that come up, there are any concerns that they see during the period of the day or whatever, they're supposed to be bringing that to us. We should not have to be worried about, well, are they learning everything? Not just are they learning what they need to learn, but are they also being given all of this other bullshit that they don't need to be learning? Like all of this fucking like sex ed shit and all of this like, oh, now it's time for queer and transgender and bi studies. Like, no, we didn't have those fucking classes when we grew up.
Right.
We shouldn't be having them now. They need to get public schools. I think the whole public school system as a whole needs to quote Jack Nicholson from the original Batman, the school system needs an enema. It needs to be completely fucking overhauled, and we need to get back to the way things were: reading, writing, math, arithmetic, and just the basic necessities we need, and including shit that we're never going to use, like algebra and geometry and all that bullshit.
Pretty much.
We don't need to know about, here's how you put a condom on a banana. Fuck that. We don't need to know that shit when we're in elementary school.
Honestly, if you can't fucking figure it out when it's time for you to have sex, then you have a bigger problem. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you can't figure out how to put a condom on when you're about to have sex, then you have a bigger problem.
That's
Insert peg A into slot B.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have a bigger problem. I'm just saying.
I don't want to know. I don't want to have to fear that, my kid is going to be given all of this misinformation and all of this shit where, like, he's going to come home someday from school going, you know what, guys, I think I might be a girl. And it's like, oh, fuck me. What did they tell you?
Yeah, I'm
Because
curious.
you know, sure to shit. Something was said.
My
or
health
something
teacher
was
said
told
I
to
could have
them.
periods. Well, you're a
Yeah.
boy, so that's not possible.
No, no, that's
You've got,
happening.
like,
Well,
you've
she
got- you've
said
got
that
a
I
schmeckle
could.
there, kid.
Okay,
You're
well,
not a
I'm gonna go
girl.
talk to that lady.
I was like, do I need to like pick her in the balls and see if? Oh, wait, she has balls. That's what I was told.
Yeah, we
No.
don't need a Finkel Einhorn type situation going on here. I mean, we know if you got balls and a dick, you're a boy. If you don't, you're a girl. It's end of
Right.
discussion. There's not, well, we've got 16 genders and all of these different things, and this person over here thinks he's a Teddy Ruxpin, so we're gonna identify him as a Teddy Ruxpin. What the fuck, man? He's a boy. He's a girl.
I'm gonna
Look
go
at your
put a
birth
tape in his
certificate. It
back
tells
and,
you what
and
you are.
find out. Somebody got a cassette tape I can throw in his back and find out.
Oh God.
Now going back to gun control, I identify as an AK-47, and I'm going to shoot everybody. Come on now.
I don't know.
God.
Yeah, I don't know. Schools need to just go back to like just teach the reproductive system and the basic health class stuff, and like just go simple with what they're teaching kids, and not like all this bullshit. Like, just teach.
Right.
You don't need to like share your own biases and what you're teaching now. Just
My favorite part of that is they're giving all these kids all of this stuff, and they're doing it behind the parents' back. But at the same time, if your kid is truant, a lot of the systems will fine the parents because they're not taking care of the kids and making sure that they're in school.
That's true.
Okay, hello, double standard.
Yeah, and like, if like, here's your new teacher, and if she's got like 75 different hair colors, 19 piercings, and you go into her classroom and there's all the fucking flags, different colored flags you could think of, and looks like a fucking unicorn shit all over that room, chances are they ain't going to be teaching the kid what they need to be taught. And it's I think the schools have a responsibility to be like, okay, now your son is starting kindergarten. Here is the curriculum for the year. This is what we're going to be going through week by week. And we should know that, and not, well, this is what we told them we're going to go through. But like you said, we're just going to slip in a couple little things here or there. Fuck that. No. This is what you're going to be teaching him, and only what you're going to be teaching him. And that's another reason why homeschooling has grown the way it has, not just because of fucking COVID, but because parents see all the bullshit that's going on in public schools, and they're like, fuck this. I will teach my kid what I know that they need to be taught, and just that. And then that's why they homeschool the kids.
I mean,
They're going to be getting the education and not all that other bullshit that should never be coming across them in schools.
But the one problem with that homeschooling is they don't get the social skills. They don't get certain things that they're going to miss out, and they're going to become very, very awkward when they're thrown into that situation. So there's a give and take to that.
True. The good thing is, though, is that nowadays, like, again, when we were growing up back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, homeschool,
I know that era.
Like you said, homeschool was the awkward, this is Jedediah, and when he's not learning that, he's over there milking the cows. No.
And churning
But
butter.
Now, thankfully, with the days of Zoom and things like that, like homeschooling, you can now get, other kids, and you can actually get them together and be taught, virtually, where you're still in control of the narrative, but you also have that social interaction where back in the 80s and 90s, Jedediah was just shit out of luck. He just had his cows to mingle with because
he's like,
we didn't have the technology that we have now.
Well,
So it's like,
they proved it worked during COVID. when everybody was staying at home. A lot of classes were done on computers.
Oh, that shit didn't work.
Exactly.
It actually made it worse.
that shit
That
didn't
shit-
work
No,
at all.
what I'm saying is, it certain school systems it actually did work. The higher education.
For some.
The
Yeah,
higher
not for all.
Okay, not for the lower grades, but for the higher education. Yes.
For some.
Yeah. No, I was going to say that, like, you know, with schools nowadays, the one thing that they, like, because you just were saying, like, take an enema and just fucking blow that shit up. I mean, instead of standardized testing, I mean, yes, I think we should go back to the ways of, like, yes, you want the teacher to have the control, but the thing is as parents, and, like, again, when you're looking at, like, PTA meetings and whatever fucking meetings that they have now, you know, this is where you would say, listen, if you're going to teach my kid history, don't only just say, hey, we're going to do white history. Why don't you do every fucking piece of history and not just this one little section? Because they do tend to not have certain pieces and throw that in there. And like you said about math, right? So, like, teach things that are actually going to be useful.
This
and not
bullshit new
shit.
math.
Right.
New math. Like,
What the fuck is new math?
fucking
Is
new
it the
math
same
outta
thing
here.
as the old math but new? Like, what is this shit? You know, and like science. Like,
Fucking
science
new
hasn't
math.
changed. Is it new science? Is it like, oh my God, here we are. This is what it is. Like, what are we talking about here?
Yes, the new science. Didn't you hear him? It's like 17 different
go
genders
back to
now.
dissecting.
Right,
frogs
and anatomy. Like, what happened to
allies.
good old anatomy? Like, okay, ready? Your boobies. Okay, we have penis, and you know. So it's like, what is this? What am I looking at here?
Go back to dissecting cats and cow eyes. I mean, that's what I did. in
Yeah,
high
and I
school,
remember
and,
like frogs and shit like that. I mean, hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, you dissected frogs. You're not like, oh, well, I can't dissect this frog, teacher. Why? Because I don't know. I don't know if the gender identity has been determined or
Hasn't
not.
been established yet.
I haven't gotten consent from it to be able to open it up, even though it's clearly dead.
No, it's unalive. Come on now.
All right, unalive.
Oh, Christ on a crutch. The terminology, again,
Can't do
again,
this.
I'm not vegan.
again, part of it is
I can't
COVID, but also
things
part of it
that
is
are
just the
alive.
fact that our fucking school system and mainstream media has just dumbed us down to no end. It's like, you know, when we were growing up, if you heard the word ratchet, you would think, okay, it's a fucking tool that you use and
Correct.
you have in your toolbox. Now it's like, my God, that's so ratchet. Fucking son of a bitch, man. Come on. It's
What
like,
are you using?
yes, like, nice, dude. It's like, oh my God, she's so mid. Mid what? Mid means middle. Like, what the fuck are we talking about here?
Riz.
Jesus. It's, that's that, like he was saying, like Matt was saying, you just want to shake them and go, stop it.
What are you doing?
Just say your fucking words normal.
You
Stop.
millennial, stop it.
Abbreviating
Stop it.
shit.
You alpha generation.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't say millennials. I was like, don't say that shit. I was like, you're gonna blame the alphas and the zillennial or the
The-
Generation Z.
I don't
now.
even.
Fucking whatever.
I don't even know anymore. Like they're just naming themselves new things,
Well,
and I just don't.
So
I lost it after Alpha. I don't even know what that.
So I'm gonna
Like,
I'm
I
gonna
don't
tell you
even
something.
care.
I don't know.
I don't
know if
even
you
care
know.
now. I don't even.
So ready?
care.
Hold on. Ready? So this is what I found out is like, so I had to look this shit up. So of course you have millennials, Generation Alpha, Z. So then they're like,
Alpha
you know what?
Z.
Hold on. Watch. Ready?
They sound like
So
they're
what
from
they-
other planets.
Can you shut up for 2 damn seconds? God damn it. Anyways, what they're doing now is they're doing the Greek alphabet. So they're gonna go alpha, beta, but all the way down. And I'm sitting there like, you what? You're gonna go
I'm Generation
Beta.
Epsilon.
right? And I'm sitting there like,
Right. They
this
sound
is
like
where
they're
you're
from
gonna
other
go,
fucking planets.
right? And I'm like, you might as well just start naming like, hey, we got Generation Taurus
I'm
here.
Jan- I'm Alien Alpha Epsilon Z 39.
You
Like,
know
what
what,
is going on
motherfuckers?
here?
I'm Generation Lambda.
I was
Okay,
just gonna say
motherfuckers?
that. I was just gonna say that.
It's like, yeah, and this, you know, it scares me because of the fact that I know I have my son who's going to be going to school, because the fact that all of that shit is going on where it's like, okay, when you are learning science, and like you said, when you're learning history, it should cover everything, all the good, all the bad. It's like, oh, we're only going to paint the United States in a good light with our history textbooks. We're only going to cover these things. Cover everything. Cover our fuck ups in Vietnam. Cover our fuck ups in Afghanistan. Cover all of the shit, all of the everything, warts and all.
Man,
because in order for you to
all
appreciate
slavery.
it,
If
you
only
got to
it
know
was
everything
the
that
real
happened.
story of Thanksgiving, right, John?
Oh yeah, exactly. Real story of Thanksgiving and
Yeah.
everything else in between.
And the sad
Yep.
part is people don't know the real stories of half of this stuff.
No, they
Yeah,
don't.
They don't.
And they don't understand that Thanksgiving was not a happy day.
No, it wasn't.
It was a big old fuck you to the Native Americans. I will say that.
Yeah, and yeah, it's just it goes back to everything where it's like, I think with everything being as corrupt as it is, from mainstream media to social media to everything, it's seeping down, and the toxicity is bleeding into everything that we know and love and hold dear, even down into the education system that needs to be completely fucking overhauled. And we're never going to get back to the way our country and our world needs to be until all of that shit gets eliminated from the world, which unfortunately
everything we've talked about. No wonder why our kids are so fucked.
Yeah,
Yep.
really? No, I'm joking.
I'm glad my kids are grown. I'm glad my kids aren't
Mine are
like young.
too.
Yeah, right.
I'm
with
glad
you,
my
John.
kids aren't young like
mine.
yours are.
Right, yeah, right. Like, so
But
me and
I'm
John
glad
here,
my
yeah.
kids are like in their 20s.
Right.
And they don't have to I mean, they still have to deal with shit, but they don't have to grow up like in school.
Yeah, now.
Now,
Right.
like, I'm glad they went through school when they did. Because now, yeah, I would be really scared for them now going to school.
No, I know.
You know what I mean?
I'm right with John. I'm fucking scared as shit, especially with the shit that's going to be happening in the next, let's say, 10 years or so. I have
But
no
this
idea.
is where this is where I think you guys have to be very proactive, and like when they're coming home, being like,
Let me see
"All
your
right,
homework.
what did you,
It's like-
what are they teaching you? Like, what did you learn today?" And really getting that feedback, because
Almost sounds like
if you're not getting that feedback, you have no idea what the fuck these teachers are telling them.
it almost sounds
and-
like me and him need to start doing pop quizzes with our kids
The-
to like really get an idea of
History
what they're
that they
doing.
could be telling, it could be anything. But the math that they're teaching, like I know, like when they were, I mean, when my kids were in school, Tate, they would give like the math homework, and it was like, oh yeah, I could do that, and they're like, no, you don't do it like that anymore.
What the fuck do
What
you
the
do?
fuck? How the fuck do you do that?
Well, let me show
And
you.
then like they're doing it out, and they're like,
the fuck is
why the
this
fuck
shit?
are you doing it ass backwards like that for? Like, well, that's the way we do new math. Like,
Hey, John,
well,
I
that's
got a question.
backwards.
I do have a question for you. With all of the stuff that we're talking about, what is your opinion on? Again, we're going back to mental health.
Probably a good idea.
What do you think is going to be the impact for future with all of the stuff that's going on if we keep going on the way we're going? I'm just curious your opinion.
We're fucked. I mean, it's
That's a good
it's
opinion.
already in the works at this point. I mean, there's reasons why, like back in the day, like when we were growing up in like the fucking 1980s and 1990s, when you had like Ronald Reagan running for office and you had like George H.W. Bush and shit like that. You had, you didn't have like, oh, well, Ronald Reagan's running for office, and he might not win, so he's gonna call in Johnny Carson to stump for him, or he's gonna call in Walter Cronkite to pitch for him and shit. It's like, no. Nowadays, with the way the fucking social media and all this shit out there, and because of all the bullshit that we're allowing to have happen, you've got like Kamala Harris, Queen Word Salad, who was like, oh, well, rather than telling you how I'm going to fix the fucking country and the world, because, we need to do that because we're very fucking fractured. Instead, here's fucking Beyonce. Here's fucking Megan Thee Stallion. It's like, what the fuck are they going to do? If you got elected, what the fuck? Are they going to be, is Beyonce going to be the Secretary of the Treasury? Fuck no. Is Megan Thee Stallion going to be the new head of the FBI? Fuck no. It's like, this is the problem, is that we are so dependent. Our youth is so dependent on fucking social media and just clamoring for whatever the fucking mainstream media, unfortunately, feeds them, that unless we fucking focus their brains to where it needs to be, get them deprogrammed and get them fucking focused on what the main core things that they should be learning and absorbing, we're fucked. We are going to have in 2030 or whenever, 2040, we're going to have President Selena motherfucking Gomez. And she's going to be going up against Kanye West's kid, Northwest.
Yep.
And we're fucked. And then I guess independent party is going to be Secretariat, the descendant of Secretariat, whose platform is, I've got 4 hooves, they got 2 legs, I win. It's like, fuck, we're not going to make it. We won't make it, and it's going to be very, very scary if we don't right the ship now before we're hitting that iceberg.
So you're saying the great experiment may be over?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. The great experiment was a catastrophic failure, and unfortunately, the big people like the skeezy sumbitches like Bill Gates, like Anthony Fauci, like George Soros, All of these fucking people that control tech and pharma and all this shit, as long as they maintain that power and as long as people aren't waking the fuck up, it ain't never going to change. You may have half the country or more saying, we're tired of the bullshit, let's fix it. But if you can't get the rest of the people on board, it ain't never going to get fixed.
Well, I mean, the other half, honestly, they're too busy having chats with AI bots and relationships with AI. I mean that's just the reality of the situation. I mean, they're too busy chatting with AI girlfriends to get off their phones. You know what I mean? So
yeah, look up for 2 seconds and do shit. Well, I mean, and then I could even throw this out there. I mean, like, when you look at the fucking U.S. Constitution, you know, because I'm looking at him for a reason. You know, it even states in there. You know, we're talking about tyranny. You know, and we're talking about all this shit, and you know, we're talking about a government that is, you know, so much in control, and we thought, okay, we the people, ready right there, we the people, you know, kind of, we could do what we need to do to get back to where we should be. But again, because of a certain bill, you know, back in the day, good old George W. Bush, you know, yeah, you know, him doing that shit, because if we decided, hey, we're gonna go against the government, well, I guess that's a form of terrorism. I don't know what to fucking tell you about that. And if you want to get your government back, guess what? That's a form of terrorism. So good luck with that.
no, because we have a people that are so reliant on the government that we can't.
CBT and
That but
yes, no.
society as a whole cannot take their mouths off the teats of the government to stop milking
Oh, you mean when I
every resource from the government
Right.
to sustain themselves naturally.
So you mean like that woman with the 2 kids, or sorry, like the 5 kids that she has, and she's driving a Lincoln Navigator, and she's like buying all this
she's got
stupid
brand new
shit.
Nikes, but yeah, she's on Medicaid,
Yeah,
and
she's got cigarette cartons and fucking all kinds of shit going in
Yeah.
her cart. Yeah,
she's getting fuel assistance and EBT, and she's
Yeah.
getting money to
You
pay
know.
her bills.
and we're just like, hey, we're just driving our Toyota Corollas or whatever the fuck we're driving, and we're like, okay, I guess this is what life
Yeah,
is.
most of us are working like 2 jobs trying to do this, and then we're getting shut off notices, and we can barely pay our bills. And then this lady's like driving freaking a brand new car and brand new sneakers and brand new clothes, and our kids are all wearing new clothes. Yeah,
and she's the parent. She's part of the parents that are going to be, you know, that don't give a fuck about what their kids are being taught in school, or like she's going to be one of the ones you're going to see on fucking TV when one of her kids goes ape shit and kills somebody. He was such a good boy. I didn't see the signs and da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, because you're too busy popping out motherfucking kids like you're a goddamn bunny just so you can live off the government tit. So yeah, obviously you most likely didn't pay attention to Jaquan, Shanae, and all the other fucking 8 kids you got there because you're too fucking busy worrying about, well, I don't gotta work, I can live off the government tit. And then yeah, when one of your kids goes ape shit, and you act like you don't know what the fuck happened. Yeah, that's called accountability, bitch. And you obviously don't have it because you're too busy with your legs spread open and letting guys enter you like the fucking throwing a fucking hot dog inside the Grand Canyon. I mean,
cannot.
seriously.
I cannot wait for this shit to drop, man. I'm going to tell you right now, I can't wait for it to drop this Friday. This is going to be so fucking awesome. But go ahead. I know my dad's got something to say about
it was about what you were talking about.
What?
I was gonna explain about
The patriarch.
George Bush.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, John, you've read the Declaration, right? A
Yes.
little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
So you know the whole we hold these truths to be self-evident. All men are created equal. Blah blah blah. Always goes to the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
Yep.
Everybody knows that first line.
Yeah.
But the second line states that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their powers from the consent of the governed, which are us. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish such government and to institute new government, laying the foundation on such principles and organizing its power in such form as to they shall, I mean, this is old English, shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness, prudence, and so on and so forth. Basically, what it's stating is we have the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And if a government becomes too powerful, like you're saying, we, as the people governed, have the right to abolish it. Now, the 836-page paper that he's talking about, the Patriot Act, just took that entire line and got rid of it, because once you go against this government, you are deemed a terrorist. So that, like you said, we are fucked because they're picking apart our Constitution, our Declaration of Independence, the things that we hold dear in this country. The problem with that is, like you said, it's going to start deteriorating the way we do business in this country and the way we handle our families, the way we grow up, the way we think. It's just, you're right. I agree with you. We're fucked.
We're fucked. That is the.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, the end of the podcast. We're fucked. Okay, got it.
Yeah, and I think, a big part of it needs to be, and again, like you were just saying, I think a big part of it needs to be not only do we need like age limits as far as like if you're going to run for president, you have to be you can't be older than this, but at the same time, we need fucking term limits on everybody, not just presidents,
Absolutely.
Congress and representatives. Because
Absolutely.
you have fucking Skeletor, Nancy Pelosi, who's still sitting there and like fucking Chuck Schumer, again, who's fucking like the Penguin from Batman. And these people aren't getting voted out because, nobody's coming to oppose them. And if they do, they're so fucking corrupt and they have so many deep pockets, they squash them like a fucking bug. But if they had term limits, these people would already be out. And then you'd have other people coming in. Like fucking AOC, who to me is one of the worst wastes of oxygen in the history of DC. She's in there because, again, New York, they're never going to fucking put in right people, in their representatives and their congressmen. But that's another thing we need to do is, like you said, if the government's fucking around, then they need to find out that, okay, we're going to toss you out and we're going to bring in right people and we're gonna reshape this from the ground up. But instead, we can do whatever the fuck we want, and if you try to say one bad thing against us, you're an insurrectionist, you're a domestic terrorist, you're gonna get arrested, or you're gonna be killed. And that's bullshit. That's not the United States.
Nope,
that's Germany. And I'm not saying Trump is not Hitler. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the government is being run like it's a fucking communist dictatorship, because they can try to squash us whenever we try to rise up on even the smallest thing. We try to call them out. We're suddenly enemies of the state. And it's like, no, we're allowed to do that. We have those freedoms. Read the fucking Declaration of Independence that you're currently using as toilet paper in one of the fucking bathrooms at the Capitol. All right? Because that document has meaning. That document has purpose. But you guys could get 2 fucks less.
You were founded on that
corrupt.
document.
Yeah.
It's true. I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing more to say. It's just we look at our society, and I mean, the last 25, actually, no, we'll say 50 years. Let's go 50 years. There's so much shit that we thought, okay, hey, we should be flying cars around. We should be, probably the best in the world when it comes to education and all this other shit. And then we're shitted upon because our education sucks. We're the fattest piece of shits on the planet because we're one of the fattest in the fucking world. We can't fucking do anything. We're a fucking joke, basically. And then everything else in between is just like, well, yeah, that's just America. That's whatever. Fuck 'em.
We're probably about 10 or 15 years away from idiocracy.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're probably about 10 or 15 years or less from idiocracy.
And it's the truth. I mean, it's just, you're like, holy shit. Like,
Pretty soon we'll be watering plants with Gatorade.
It's electrolytes, right?
It has electrolytes.
Or we'll get to the point where, like on the South Park episode, we'll actually end up sticking food up our rectums and pooping out of our mouths. That's the level we're gonna
Yeah,
get to.
right. We'll figure out new ways to do this shit. Yeah. Oh, man.
But yeah, I think this has been a very informative talk that we've had.
So I will say this, John. I love how we've been going back with like, oh, we should really talk about mental health, and then we go, oh, we're gonna go do something else, and then we're talking about this.
Hey, I brought us back on topic for
Well,
once.
yeah, for 2 seconds, and then we just been all over the place, and I think this is why. I think this is I like having us, talk.
Honestly, everything that we've been talking about actually has a part to play in
guess
the
that's-
mental health of people in the world because of the
agree.
way government does things, the way that our school systems does things. The parents aren't parenting anymore. Everything plays a part in the mental health of society.
Sorry, that last part, what you just said, I agree with wholeheartedly. Yes, the parenting part,
Wow.
I'm joking. I'm not talking
Wow.
about you.
I'm sorry, Kimberly. I will make sure.
Really? Oh, thanks, Teresa. Anyways.
Okay.
He's like, I don't know what to say.
I don't know what just happened here.
Hey,
but-
you just remember one thing. this is Geeks on the Multiverse. This is the kind of random shit you never know what you're gonna get. So
Exactly, and that's what I loved about it, and that's why I think this was perfect because as he said, regardless of all the little tangents we went off on, they all tie back to mental health because mental health is not as cut and dry as some people want to make it out to be. It's got so many fucking aspects and tentacles to it, and it covers so many different things and the world as a whole. And yeah, until we can rein it in and get it under control, we're fucked. Period. Full stop. We're
so
fucked.
you know what? I think the title of this episode should be called "We're Fucked." It just leave it like that. You're fine. They're like, whatever. Yeah, well, we're fucked.
Episode 4, No Filter Friday. We're fucked.
We're fucked. Featuring Geeks from the Multiverse podcast.
Yep. But yeah,
I love it.
I think we're gonna wrap this up. It's been a blast. Absolutely, thank you guys so much for joining me on this chaotic episode and bringing in fresh perspectives and aspects.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I wanted. Was it just an hour, just under an hour and a half of bullshitting and talking and serious talk too, about how fucked we are as a world. Until we can get things straightened around, it's not going to get any better. And I think we all know where we need to be, and it's just a matter of taking it one step at a time and getting us there. And hopefully someday when my kid's my age, if I'm still around, hopefully to God I am, he can look back and be like, Dad, thankfully things aren't as bad as they were when, I was a little kid. So yeah, but definitely guys, check out Geeks of the Multiverse podcast. It is an awesome podcast. I highly recommend it. Yeah, it is as chaotic as this was, and then some.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's as chaotic as this was, plus add on a little bit of cocaine, and you got it.
Okay, wow. Apparently, you and I are doing drugs now,
shall we?
Yeah, I'm sorry. No.
Yeah. But
No,
yeah,
and honestly, John, we're appreciative of this experience because actually this is the first time really we've ever done this. So this is something new for us too, and we're looking forward to having you on here too.
absolutely.
Being able to talk some stuff as well. So yeah, we'll be reaching out to shortly. So
I'm looking forward to stepping into your world as well.
Boy.
But for now, let's wrap it up. And this has been No Filter Friday. I, of course, have been John Kanopic, and we've got Matt and John and Brian, right? Thank you. Good. I got it right. Cool. Matt and John and Brian from Geeks from the Multiverse. And as always, as I wrap up my shows, guys, ladies and gentlemen, take my advice, pull down your pants, slide on the ice, and we will see you guys next Friday. Follow me on all social medias, NFF Show is now what it's called. And guys, give them your social media handles too.
yeah, so ours is GFTM23. It usually you can go on Instagram, TikTok. I was gonna say YouTube. I'm pretty sure it's the same thing, right?
Yeah, YouTube is at GFTM23.
Oh, sorry, yep. And then so again, you can find us on Facebook. Again, Geeks from the Multiverse. And yeah, stay geeky on that part.
Give them a follow. And yeah, and this has been No Filter Friday, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Have a great one. Adios. See you guys. Bye.